Guys, just, guys, this is just for your consent that I have started recording of this session, and I will post this session via YouTube to every one of you. To each one of you, definitely will get the link, right? So this is just for your consent that I have started recording of this session. Now you can please go ahead. Like, what is cloud computing?
Do you want me to repeat or?
Yes, yes, I would like you to repeat.
Okay, cloud is something which is in layman, it is basically a server where data is kept in remote, from where we can access the data from anywhere, anytime.
Okay, good. Anyone else would like to add something?
Yeah, so there are three parts: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. There are three parts further of cloud.
Okay, good.
It's
Would like to?
yeah, Lokesh, this side Pramod. It's a very hard language. The cloud computing is a dedicated situated and a data center is a other dedicated location and provide the customer wise the host computing so that customer connected with the MPLS and access your data and also the customer not required the any data center like any cooling as it's saving the light and cooling as so hard of hardware also.
Okay, very good. So, okay, when we are talking about data center, the particular term which you used, so let us say if you need to set up a data center, or for example, okay, let's not jump onto cloud computing directly. Let us assume that when cloud computing was not there, right? So how people used to work. For example, you are hired within an organization and you need to host a website, and the link website is going to be, let us say, www.servergyan.com. You need to host this website. So what all components would you need? You are the very first person in IT department in my organization. Let us say I have hired you as IT manager or as a DevOps engineer, whatever profile you want to call yourself, you can give it a name. But my requirement from you is that you need to host this website.
The first thing we may require is, we'll need to procure a base server. Procure a hardware actually, and network part is.
Okay, let us note it down. Hardware. And inside hardware, what all things would you need?
CPU.
We need the computation, not computation.
Yeah, server like SAN switch, storage, and library or network switch.
Okay. What is library you are talking about?
Library is using for the backup, taking the backup like attached by the TSM and Commvault also, so that we can take that backup daily and weekend basis.
It means you are talking about tape devices, right?
Yeah, tape library. Yeah, tape device.
So we can call that backup server. Okay, so that can be part of storage. So storage can be used for storing real-time data, or it can be used for keeping backup. Okay.
It's like can the SAN switch is connected with the storage and between the server.
Yes. Next part could be
routers and core switches. Core switches.
Switch and the particular stuff we call as racks, because
MPLS.
Where we are going to
MPLS. MPLS also, I think.
Okay, we will discuss about it later on as well, because that is going to be somewhere or the other like related to network only, or you can call that internet. Okay, what else do we need?
Just like power, cooling, cooling, AC, yeah, right, AC cooling, right. And power, cooling, and space.
Data center kind of
space. Yes, we can
data center. Data center. Very good.
Data center space. Okay. And resources.
Manpower. So manpower, so we can exclude that part. Why it is so? Because manpower will be required.
Manpower, monitoring the server, monitoring the hardware.
So monitoring will be
everything is monitoring, AC, cooling.
Yes, so AC is already covered here. What else do we need? So okay, so in a nutshell, like we need hardware. Inside like hardware, we need servers, storage, router, switch, and obviously like when we are talking router, switch, so how can we forget firewall? right?
Physical space as well.
Pardon?
Physical space as well.
So like we have marked as data center.
Got it.
Yes. So when we are talking about these many stuff, like we need hardware, server, storage, router, switch, firewall, rack, network, power, AC, DC. Like AC means not alternative current. We are talking about like
Cooling.
distribution, and we are talking about data center. So these sort of things we need. But the particular basic stuff we are like for hosting a simple website, we need these many things. Even these are really easy to arrange. The main thing which comes here in like EC certificate, environment control certificate we need. Like you will have to give in writing to environment authority that how much electricity will you consume? Are you going to consume? Are you going to implement some sort of generator? Are you going to use any sort of like wind energy, solar energy, and others? That sort of thing definitely we will have to give them in writing. And to arrange these type of certificates are the really toughest job for any data center like providing organization. Okay, let's not discuss about that particular for now. But the particular other challenge which we have here is, so how many servers do we need? If we talk about like server part only, so how many servers do we need? Moreover, the particular main difficulty which we will have to face here is that is going to be like capacity planning. This is the most difficult challenge which a person has to face in order to run a particular website into a data center. Why it is so? Let us say when I am asking you today, okay, I need to host this website like known as www.sarvagyan.com, right? So what would you ask me? In order to purchase a server, okay, what is going to be traffic? So I'll say that I am expecting maybe 1,000 users will visit my site per day for now. But let us say the particular content which I'm serving on sarvagyan.com is really going viral. Viral means like right people are approaching to this particular website and they are visiting this website multiple times in a single day. The expectation goes wrong and the number of users becomes 10,000 per day, right? And especially in peak hours, like it could be possible maybe after 3 months that I'm having like 1 lakh users per day. That is quite feasible figure, right? I could have like these many users visiting my website on daily basis. So what is going to happen? The particular server, the particular server which we had, let us say, like we thought of having like within this server, like we thought of having 32 CPU and 64 GB of RAM, right? So it could be possible like we might have created some sort of virtual machine inside it and all, but we had only single server. What if this fails? We do not have any other server in backup because we are very beginner. And in order to ensure that, okay, like we need to have HA available, like hardware, high availability, we need to ensure. So we need to have at least 2 servers for each service. Maybe like 2 servers for database, 2 servers for application, 2 servers for middle layer and all, like multiple servers we need. But what if the particular servers do not suffice my requirement? I need to have such a server where 128 CPU and at least, let us say 512 GB of RAM is required. So we cannot sell off our old servers. Nobody is going to purchase them. So capacity management becomes a very, very difficult thing. Moreover, the particular initial like investment which we need to make, let us say like 32 GB of RAM and 64 CPU we are talking about, let us call it like RAM. So we will have to spend like multiple lakh rupees at the very beginning of the particular organization, at the beginning of this particular like website hosting. So previously you might have seen multiple startups used to fail very easily. Why it is so? Because in order to like get their stuff online, they were supposed to spend a lot of amount in order to set up a website hosting stuff, like in order to have a website running, because they were supposed to set up this sort of thing like a router. Multiple lakhs a user is supposed to spend if a user is looking for actually a good router. Same thing goes with firewall, switch, and other stuff, right? So when we talk about cloud computing, so cloud computing is the particular solution to all these hassles, like all the particular problems which we used to have before. So these problems are sorted out with the help of cloud computing. So in a nutshell, if you have to define cloud computing environment, you can say like cloud computing as an interface. Interface means like the particular screen which you see right now on your mobile, on your laptop, desktop, wherever you are connected. So an interface like this, or you can call that like this. So an interface like this, where all the resources are available. And now when I call it like all the resources are available, so what all resources I'm talking about? So guys, all resources like hardware, including server, RAM, I need not to worry about capacity planning, storage, router, switch, firewall, racks, internet, or maybe network you can call that, power supply, AC, like cooling capacity, then after data center, everything is already available for me at such a particular console which is available to access from any remote location, right? So what does it mean, guys? So an interface where all the resources are available. All the resources mean hardware, RAM, capacity, like CPU, router, where all the resources are available to keep your infrastructure. Now, what is my infrastructure? You can call that to keep your website running. So rather than calling it website, we will call it as infrastructure, because we might need database, we might need web server, application server, and others. So an interface where all the resources are available to keep your infrastructure up and running is known as cloud computing. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, Lokendra.
Are we clear with? So if someone is going to ask you what is cloud computing, so I guess now we shall be able to answer, right? Okay, Kishore, can you help me with this? Like, what is cloud computing? Kishore, are you there? Navdeep? Pramod?
Yes, sir. Tell me.
So can you please explain what is cloud computing?
Cloud, according to cloud company, we need require any data center and physical hardware and also electricity and power and DC space. We can contact the cloud services like AWS and Azure, and providing the hosting according to space and according to data, so that we can access the application and database via the MPLS connecting.
Okay, great. Sounds good. So like in a very easy language, we can say like an interface where all the resources are available to keep your infrastructure running. And these
Right.
resources are available for like end user on demand basis. On demand basis means, let us say, if you are going to create a machine, or machine means a server, a virtual machine, you can call that, a server, you can call that a compute device, right? So as and when you want, you can create that, and you will have to pay only for the time you are going to utilize it. Just like you can take example of like Ola and Uber, right? So let us say a lot of Ola and Uber cabs are running on the like roads, right? But you pay only then when you are utilizing it. So let us say AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure, DigitalOcean, Oracle Cloud, IBM Cloud. So multiple vendors are available in market as of today who are providing these sort of services. And not only these, like a lot of hidden, like a lot of unknown vendors are available whom we do not know, because these are the like big players in the market. That's why we are calling these names only. Otherwise, there are a lot of vendors available. Okay, so this is known as cloud computing. Now, if I have to write down a couple of names here, so obviously like we can write down a couple of names as well. So first of all, we have AWS, like this is known as Amazon Web Services. Then after we have GCP, this is known as Google Cloud Platform. Then after we have Azure. These are three big players. Then after we have DigitalOcean, DO. This is also like in market and playing a very good role. Then after we can talk about Oracle Cloud, like OC, Oracle Cloud, IBM Cloud, we can talk about. So these are big players which are really playing good role in order to serve customers in the field of cloud computing, right? So this is known as cloud computing environment. Now, if we have to talk about like, can anyone create a particular account on cloud computing environment? So yes, whosoever wants to create an account on AWS, on GCP, or maybe on Azure, can definitely create an account onto these particular cloud computing platforms, but the user needs to have one credit card or maybe one debit card. Right, guys? If a person has that, then person can sign up just like a person creates an account on Facebook or maybe on Twitter or wherever, right? So these sort of details are required in order to begin with cloud computing environment. Now, when we talk about, like earlier someone was saying here that there are different models of cloud computing environment. So guys, what are the models of cloud computing we have? Why do we use these sort of, and like how does it help us? Yes, Rocky, you have a question.
Yeah, like if someone get a job in other cloud like DigitalOcean or Oracle, so do he need to go there, that company, or like he should come like follow like two, he have two jobs actually, so he get a two jobs like AWS or Azure or like DigitalOcean or Oracle, so which one he should prefer actually in that case?
Okay, so in that particular case, the particular stuff, let us say if you talk about open market as of today, so AWS, GCP and Azure, these are really high in demand. But if you talk about such an environment, if you talk about such a company, so the particular engineers who are working on DigitalOcean, they are getting higher salaries. Why it is so? Because the particular skills which they have, the similar skills like other people also have, but because number of engineers are really less, that's why they are being paid a little more. Moreover, like if you are getting chance to work directly with DigitalOcean, so obviously you should prefer that, because even the pay scale and most of time like they are offering their and their employees like permanent work from home in most of cases. And obviously like where the particular person has to work, so the more company is ready to pay, so like people will be interested for salary part as well.
Okay, so if someone worked in like Oracle or DigitalOcean, so later he want to change his job to like AWS or Azure, how it is easy or difficult actually?
So it is easy. It is really not difficult. Why it is so? Because if you talk about DigitalOcean, if you talk about Azure, Google Cloud, so the major services, let us say we talk about AWS, right? So as we have like account logged in here, so we can discuss about it. So major services, let us say if you talk about cloud, like these are the like a bunch of services which have like in case of analytics, application integration, AR, like augmented reality, virtual reality, right? Blockchain, compute, containers. So most of services are common. What is difference? What is not common? That is just interface, because most of services are common. Yes, let us say we talk about AWS and Google Cloud. So these are big players. These have a lot of services. These have a lot of services available on their platform. But if you talk about DigitalOcean, so number of services is really less. So if you are selected as an expert of any individual domain, so you will have to explore a couple of other services as well. Otherwise, there will be no challenge while switching, because see, only once I studied AWS and I had to take a little help from others as well. But when I started working on Google Cloud, on Azure, so I explored them on my own because I was well aware of the particular terminology, only the interface was different. So obviously you will have to put some extra effort to change from DigitalOcean to AWS and from AWS to GCP, some basic terminology, and like that particular GUI is a little different. Otherwise, like most of things are going to be common.
Okay, thank you, Lokendra.
Yes. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes.
Okay, great. Fine. So now guys, what we are going to discuss here is the particular models or the particular method or the particular design, like how does AWS, how does GCP provide their services to end users. So guys, basically there are three ways. The very first model of cloud computing is known as IaaS. Now, what does it mean? This is known as infrastructure as a cloud. Infrastructure as a service. Oh, that is service. Just a moment. Yes, guys. So when we are talking about like infrastructure as a service, what does it mean? Guys, can anyone explain this particular stuff? What is infrastructure as a service?
Like what are the offerings can be given by the cloud vendor, like to the market, I mean to the
End user.
customer, end user. Yeah. So like here in this case, infrastructure like certain components like server and what all things, mostly for the infrastructure part, what can be the offerings. So I think that's called IS.
Okay. So, and what is PaaS? What is platform as a service?
Like they will platform in the sense, like for example, I mean the server, the network or not everything with a certain I mean the platform where we can, for a developer, for example, if he wants to I mean run a job or a project on a certain like a platform, so maybe that's called a PaaS.
Okay. Anyone else would like to give it a try?
Let's say YouTube is a platform and you offer YouTube related service, anything related to YouTube as a service, for example.
Just like operating system, any programming language.
Okay. So that will be as the platform as service.
Is it like providing the ecosystem for the application which the other person is using or developing? Is it like that?
Yes. End of the day, every single cloud computing environment is going to provide you some basic infrastructure to run your application, to develop your application, right? That sort of things are here. Okay. Let me tell you like what we are trying to discuss here. So guys, yes, guys. So let us say when we are talking about this particular type of environment. So first of all, what do we have? We have a particular underlying hardware. Let us say we are working about data center, right? So first of all, we have a server. Then after, on the top of server, we need to have one operating system, right? Then after, on the operating system, we need to have some sort of like VM, like virtual machine we have, or you can call that hypervisor. So we have hypervisor. We will discuss about what is hypervisor, what is OS. And then after we will talk about like we have some libraries. We will have VM, like virtual machine. Then after we will have some software here. Right. So inside a data center, we need to manage everything. Let us say if we need to give power supply to the server, so we will have to take care of like power part. Let us say we will have to take care of network connectivity, the capacity of that network card, everything we will have to take care of, right? Now, when we talk about OS, so let us say if something goes wrong with OS, let us say OS gets corrupted, we need to patch it, we need to create some user. So that sort of thing we will have to manage. Then after, in case we are using any hypervisor. So guys, what is hypervisor? I would like to understand first.
It's a virtualization engine, like where it.
Okay, come again. So first of all, Deepak Kumar, I would like to understand from you. Deepak? Okay, any other one was trying to say something about hypervisor?
Hypervisor is we can say is a software where it helps to virtualize your hardware.
Okay, good. Any other one?
Yeah.
Just wanted to add that the definition he said, apart from that, we need not to require any operating system if we use the hypervisor.
We need not to have an operating system if we are using hypervisor.
Yeah, this
What
side
system, any operating
Pramod,
system on top of?
without hypervisor, we cannot virtualize the hardware.
Okay, so like this, like first of all server, then we have hypervisor, then after we have OS.
Hypervisor is a communication with the OS server firmware.
Okay, so it should be in this particular manner, right?
Right. Without hypervisor, we cannot hardware virtualize.
Okay, we will come on to it. So first of all, let me tell you that hypervisor is a particular term which is used to virtualize your physical hardware into multiple virtual machines. Like for example, initially there was a situation when people used to work on like laptops or maybe on desktops, right? But either they could install Windows 7 or Windows 10 on that, or later on there was a system which was known as dual boot, like on a single machine, on a single hardware, single laptop, single desktop, administrator used to use sometime Windows 7 and sometime Windows 10. Like they used to take a reboot of their hardware, their machine. They were supposed to select either Windows 7 or Windows 10. Later on, they started doing dual boot with Linux and Windows. Whenever they need to do practical, they used to use some sort of Linux operating system. Whenever they used to do their regular work, they used to use Windows. So it means that was the concept of dual boot. But at a moment, only one OS was made available to end user. Later on, when the system evolved, so there was a concept of virtualization. Like you must have heard of Oracle VirtualBox, VMware Workstation, right? That sort of softwares were available. So these softwares were used to virtualize your hardware. Like on a single laptop or single desktop, you were able to create multiple virtual machines, and those machines were accessible in parallel. For example, you had 8 CPU and 16 GB of RAM on your laptop. So you could have created one machine for Windows, one machine for Linux, one machine for Ubuntu, one machine for CentOS, and maybe so on and so forth, right? So hypervisor is a software which is used to do virtualization on the top of your hardware. Are we clear with this? There are different available in Red Hat, in Windows, in Windows it is known as Hyper-V. In Red Hat it is known as your Zen and KVM, right? Maybe if you talk about yes,
VMware, yes.
VMware. So these are some of the name of these hypervisors, right? So guys, when we talk about, so guys, do we understand like how does it happen? Like an operating system is able to virtualize the particular stuff. Are we aware of like what is simulator and what is emulator?
No, Kendra.
Would you like to know about it?
Yeah, please.
Okay, great. So guys, let me tell you a particularly small story. Although like if you feel boring, so I'll not tell you that, but definitely like this is really interesting. So when I was a small kid, I used to go to my school. So I was part of some Hindi medium schools over there. Like a lot of facilities were not made available to students. But yes, the very first time when I was in 7th standard, so that time some computer classes were introduced. And that class was treated like a temple. Why it is so? Because there was some computers kept, right? So what happened? The very first time when I entered into that class, so I was told this is CPU, that cabinet. That was told to me like this is CPU, and this is that particular television or the particular monitor was told me as monitor, keyboard, and mouse and all, right? Then once again, when I I thought of, okay, let's not do this. I left the computer section because I really did not like that. So later on, when I thought of doing some hardware level courses, then I was told that the particular box which was introduced to me, that was not CPU, that was cabinet. Now the particular, there was a plate where multiple chips and multiple ICs were placed. So that was introduced to me like this is CPU. Later on, when I got to know about chip level, so I got to know CPU is just a small chip on the particular motherboard, right? When I went for virtualization, then I really understood that so far I have not studied anything about CPU. CPU is a like virtual thing only. That CPU chip has like two sections, like male and female section of that particular. But yes, if we talk about like virtualization level and how does it work, so a CPU has 4 virtual rings. Have you heard of like CPU virtual rings? The internal functionality of a CPU. Guys, anyone aware of like CPU virtual rings?
No, sir, no.
Okay, not a problem. So guys, let me tell you that a CPU has 4 virtual rings. And what is use case? I'm going to tell you that right away, because if we do not understand that, then virtualization concept will not be completed. So we need to understand that particular section. So obviously I'm going to like create couple of components here, which will be treated as like virtual rings here. So yes, guys, this is ring 0. This is ring 1. And let us say this is ring 2. And let us say this is ring 3. So how does it work? Let us say when we are talking about virtualization, so on what particular layer does it work? How does it do? So that sort of thing we are going to do, right? So first of all, ring 0, where the kernel lies. I hope that we are aware of kernel.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
Anyone who does not know about kernel, what the kernel is?
I have heard about, but never understood it.
Okay. Have you worked on Windows?
Yes.
So when we talk about Windows, there is a particular file known as hal.dll.
Okay.
So what is the meaning of hal? HAL. Anyone has any idea about hal.dll? Okay, not a problem. So guys, HAL stands for hardware abstraction layer. So this is the particular layer where the particular command which is given by a user gets converted into some lower level languages, and that is processed within the CPU. That is known as HAL, hardware abstraction layer. DLL means dynamic link library. So multiple libraries are used. Let us say someone is writing in Hindi and system is processing that. Someone is writing in English, Tamil, Telugu, or whatever languages they prefer to type in, right? So that is known as hal.dll. So the kernel lies at this particular layer where an end user command is converted into some different sort of software library, and that is processed in hardware. Because as we understand, like basic concept of computer, that computer works only on binary format, right? So there is a layer required where these sort of commands are converted from like high level language, let us say English, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, whatever these are, from these languages to low level language, which is binary language, which is understood by operating system. So kernel is the particular mind, or you can call that heart of that operating system, which is responsible to perform this abstraction. This integration of software and hardware where we are performing that is known as kernel. Are we clear with that?
Yes.
Great. So ring 0
in Windows, if it is hal.dll, and in Linux it is kernel, right?
So you can understand up to some extent. Otherwise, even Windows has its own kernel, right? So kernel, like if you talk about like Linux, so like the name of that kernel is VM Linux. That is the name of Linux kernel.
Okay, so that booting happens. Okay.
Yes, when booting happens.
Yeah.
Right. So when we are talking about ring 1 and ring 2, so guys, let us say I have a particular file on my desktop. So let me try to access that. Okay, let us say I have this particular file. If I click here, so there are multiple options coming in. Like either I can open it with preview, with Adobe, Books, Brave browser, ColorSync utility, Google Chrome, Safari, and other apps as well. So where from do these options come? This is general basic question. This has nothing to do with cloud computing environment. Once again, I'll repeat, guys, this has nothing to do with cloud computing environment. Not at all.
It's a basic application like, I mean,
Go ahead.
I can't frame the answer properly, but it's something like the application which has been there inside, like it's been installed, which works in this way. Like when you open, like when you click on the properties, it shows different.
Do you mean on top of operating system?
Yes, on the top of operating system. Let us say, okay, let me answer that. Let's cut to short. So whenever we want to access any file, so every file has a different type. It could be PDF, it could be Excel file, it could be MP3, MP4, or maybe any sort of file like database file, or the file could be of any type. So whenever we give a particular command, let us say I am trying to play some music on my laptop, but not on YouTube for sure. I'm trying to play some music of the files I have already downloaded. When I click on that particular, so first of all, whenever I click, so this is known as user app. So all the user applications are kept in layer 3. Let us say there is a particular file that is of MP3 type. I will select that file, I'll right click, and there will be an option like this, like open with, as we were seeing. So when the particular system provides you this option, so that particular system goes to kernel that this is a type of file. Now kernel will decide that, okay, I have 3 softwares. Maybe I have MX Player, maybe I have Windows Real-Time Player, or maybe I have any XYZ software to play MP3 files, maybe VLC Media Player, right? So ring 2 and ring 1, these stores DND. DND stands for devices and drivers. So ring 2 and ring 1, these are used to keep devices and their drivers, like all the softwares, whatever are installed on layer 3. So layer 1 and layer 2 holds, and obviously there are special type of softwares. Software could be of different type. So ring 1 and ring 2 of CPU, these are used to store the devices and their drivers. So as soon as user 3, like user app, one user will select any file to access. Maybe that could be video file, that could be MP3 file, that could be PDF or anything. So request will go to kernel. Now kernel will search internally within ring 1 or ring 2. It will check like how many possible options I can provide to end user to access this file. Right? So this is how the CPU works. So when we talk about hypervisor, so hypervisor is installed at layer 3. It will reach out to kernel, because let us say in parallel, if we have installed Oracle VirtualBox and you have installed VMware desktop version as well. So if you want to access a virtual machine, Linux kernel can provide you an option to convert one VM type to another. Are we clear with that, guys? So hypervisor is installed on layer 3 at this particular layer, and based on that, like devices and drivers will be installed, and that will provide you to simulate or either to emulate your environment, your hardware. It can be simulated or emulated. There are 2 words once again, guys: simulated and emulated. Are we aware of it? Simulated and emulated.
No.
Okay, so let us say, is there anyone who has worked with Cisco Packet Tracer software?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that is fantastic. So when let us say we select any series of router, maybe 300, maybe 3000 series, 2900 series, 2600 series. So whenever we just try to configure that router, we click on that, and that is powered on within a second, right?
Yes, correct.
Because that is not actual software. That is just doing some sort of simulation. That is not real one. If you restart a real router, that takes at least 2 to 3 minutes to come up and to be in accessible mode. Dynazen or maybe GNS3, there is a particular software. If you try to create any route, select any router there, if you try to access that over there, so that takes proper time. The real time that should be taken by a real router, real operating system. So that is going to provide you real look and feel. So that is known as emulation. So now that will be depending on the type of hypervisor you are using. So is that going to provide you real, like emulation, or simulation software. So let us say if we talk about like VMware, VMware hypervisor, VMware EXX, or if we talk about your what should I call it, Zen, maybe KVM. So these are the emulators. If you create a virtual machine and you try to power it on, so if a real operating system is going to take 2 minutes, so same time will be taken by this virtual machine as well. All the process which are performed by a real operating system on which is installed on physical hardware, so same time will be taken by this particular virtual machine as well. That is the difference between simulation and emulation. Are we clear with that? So, okay, so like we are going out of the track now. So we were talking about hypervisor. So guys, these are the particular things which we have to manage in order to run our website.
Lokendra, sorry for interrupting. I have a question.
Please go
Like, I may be wrong. Like, I came across like, can we put the hypervisor on a bare metal server where there is no OS, and can we virtualize?
Yes, we can do that. We can do that. Even the modern like hypervisors are coming with that sort of capability. Yes, the particular master, wherever we are going to have that master has to be supported by any operating system, because we have to get the management console as well.
No, like for a normal server, like I have a normal server and there is no OS at all. So I just install like hypervisor. Can I virtualize?
Yes, we can do that. But let us say hypervisor does not work on a standalone machine. We need to have a complete cluster of it, right? So the particular machine where we are going to have the manager of it, like VM manager, or you can call that RAVM, Red Hat Virtualization Manager, we are going to have. So that needs to be installed along with an operating system to provide you additional facility to manage remaining hardware instances.
Yeah, hypervisor use by the only it's a licensed version of over the server. Otherwise, hypervisor used by the VM, like virtual Oracle virtual machine.
Yes, you are right.
Okay.
Okay, so now let us say that that we are trying to understand like what is IaaS, what is PaaS. So like there are a couple of images available: IaaS versus PaaS versus SaaS. So there are a couple of images available where we can easily figure out like what are what part we have to manage and what part like service provider has to manage. So yes, guys, this image we can pick.
Can we say hypervisor as a software that will virtualize the operating system?
Come again, what did you say?
Can we say hypervisor as a software that will virtualize the operating system?
Yes.
Okay.
You can say so.
Okay.
Where is that image?
You can click on that image, yeah.
Okay, let us understand here only. Otherwise, once again, that will take me to some other website. So guys, if we are talking about on-prem, so like from networking, storage, server, virtualization, OS, middle layer, runtime, data, and application, we will have to manage everything. If we are managing on-premises data center, right? In case of IaaS model, like infrastructure as service model, networking, storage, servers, and virtualization. Let us say we need not to worry about that the particular vendor is using KVM, Zen, VMware, or maybe any sort of. We need not to worry about that. These particular parts will be managed by the particular vendor itself. Now the particular OS, like we need Windows or Linux. In Linux, like it is Red Hat, Ubuntu, CentOS, or maybe any other, we need to manage that particular part. If anything goes wrong in this particular operating system, the manager, or you can call that the service provider, will not be responsible for it. Middleware, let us say we need to use Tomcat, JBoss, or maybe WebLogic. We need to manage, we need to run like Magento, we need to run like Laravel, we need to use WordPress and all. So software part we will have to manage, runtime like software configuration and everything. The data which is generated by that application, how we are going to back it up, how we are going to secure it, that part will be taken care by us, and the particular applications on it. Maybe it is going to be your Apache, Nginx, Tomcat, or whatever. So these sort of things will be managed by us. Now, if we are talking about PaaS model like platform as a service, so like even OS, middle layer, and runtime will be managed by them. Now, how we can give the example? For example, as a developer, I need to have Oracle as a database, or we can take example of MySQL as a database engine. So whether Oracle is being installed on Linux operating system or Windows, a developer has nothing to do with that. What does developer need here? Developer needs only one thing, that the particular database should be at least of like Oracle 12c version, or maybe Microsoft SQL. Like if we are talking about like MySQL, that should be running at least MySQL 8 or higher version. That sort of thing we need to worry about it. So in this case, like on what OS they are using, so everything will be managed by them. Maybe middleware, runtime. So we need to worry about like MySQL is there and how we are going to manage that data. Like how much disk we want.
Sorry, Lokesh, interrupting you. According to IaaS, AWS responsible for networking, storage, server, and virtualize. Other one responsible by the hosting, right? Customer.
Right.
And second is PaaS. So AWS or any cloud services responsible by till the runtime, and
Yes.
data and application responsibility by customer and host, right?
Right.
Okay.
And in SaaS model, even application will be managed by them. Everything is managed by them. What we need to do here is we need to use that particular software. So if I have to give an example of this, so how can I give that example? Let us say, I guess that most of us have a Gmail account. Like Gmail, like email address we have on Gmail.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Definitely like on Hotmail. So guys, I have a question here. So do you know like what operating system Gmail servers are using? Is it Windows or Linux? Forget about that. Do we know like what mailing software they are using? Either they are using Zimra, either they are using Qmail, or they are using Postfix, SendMail, or what? We never know. And even we need not to know. Moreover, even we are not worried about this thing as well, that how many users are working on their platform, how many email addresses are created there. We need not to know. What we need to manage here is, let us say if we need to send 10,000 emails. So we will do only one thing. We will go to AWS console. We will select their service. We will select the particular send email address, like send from, and where we need to send. That sort of things we are going to manage, and that is known as SaaS. It means software as a service. Right, guys? That is known as, these are the particular differences of cloud computing environment, like IaaS, infrastructure as service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So what level of information do we have about our infrastructure? The more information we have, that is cheaper. Because when AWS is managing software for you, when AWS is managing like the network software and even the operating system, underlying hardware, everything they are managing, so that will be cheaper. But let us say when we are managing our operating system runtime, we are managing middleware application runtime, then that will be a little like cheaper. If we talk about PaaS, we need to worry about data and application, that will be costly, and SaaS are really like much more costly services here. If I have to give some examples here, for example, EC2 in AWS, that is example of IaaS, because when we create EC2 machine, we have to select the operating system, we have to select the hardware size, we have to select the disk size, everything we have to select here in case of EC2. If I talk about here PaaS, so that is known as RDS. What I need to worry about here is that what version of MySQL I'm going to install, and how much capacity I need to associate with this particular database engine, like how many CPUs, how much amount of RAM I need to allocate. These sort of thing I need to worry about. Now, if I have to give an example of SaaS application, so I can talk about SQS, simple queue services. The only one example I'm giving right now, but whenever we will deep dive into these sort of things, then definitely we will start studying a lot about these sort of things. Right. Okay. So any questions so far on what is cloud computing and what is the difference between IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS? Any questions so far? If you have, you can please ask.
AWS goes to which services, right?
So AWS is providing all the three services like as IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. AWS is providing like these are the services like in under analytics. If you want to see here, like we have Athena, Cloud Search, AWS Data Exchange, Data Pipeline, EMR, like Amazon Finispace, like AWS Glue, Glue Data Brew. These are new services recently has been added. Kinesis, Lake Formation, MSK, Managed Kafka services. So these are some of the services which are used for analytics. If you talk about AR and VR, so Amazon is providing like this one. Amazon Sumerian, these are the particular service for like AR, VR, and 3D applications. For blockchain, AWS is working. Amazon managed blockchain services.
I have one quick question.
Yes.
Yeah, like you gave the example for IaaS in AWS, which is EC2 service provided by them, right? So what are the other example, other services by AWS for platform as a service and for infrastructure, software as a service?
So as I gave you some example here, so for like IaaS, I gave one example of EC2. For PaaS, I gave an example of RDS, like relational database services. It could be Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL. It could be PL and like for like email services like SES, it could be SQS. Simple email services, it could be.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I have one question.
Please go ahead.
Here. What if security is a concern for those who want to take services? Like, what if security is a concern?
Okay, so as far as security is a concern, so AWS, GCP, Azure, all the clouds are very, very secure. Why it is so? Because if you talk about this particular environment, cloud computing environment, first of all, they have multiple certifications. Like they are providing you like SOC 1, SOC 2 certificates. Like they have data center like security control certificates, like multiple security certifications they have. Whatever certificate you want from their side, they will provide you as a part of their documentation process. And how you can get that? Let us say if you go here, you will go to your like where should I go? I'll go to my account. Then after I can go to my support system. I'll have to go to my. Okay, these are my details. AWS support is separate section as of today in AWS. So you can go here, and after that you can reach out to their billing team, and they will provide you with the complete documentation of it. You will just create a case that whatever documentation you need, like you need SOC 1, SOC 2, or maybe any security report, maybe PCI DSS compliance report if you want. So every sort of like report they will provide you, that they are completely secure. Now, where the breaches happen? Breaches happens, let us say that if you are running your infrastructure on AWS and you have allowed all traffic from everywhere. Maybe if you talk about like some sort of services, let us say you are using a website and you want to secure that, you can use WAF. That is known as web application service, in order to detect and protect against DDoS attack and malicious web traffic. You can create multiple web ACLs, like access control list you can create. Moreover, like AWS Firewall Manager.
What is the difference between WAF and AWS Firewall?
So AWS Firewall is a particular, like you can assume like you are working with your Sonic Firewall, Cisco Firewall, maybe ASA, these sort of firewalls you are working with. Like physical firewall, and this is especially for web applications only. WAF is especially for web application.
Okay. So here we have IaaS and PaaS and these three platforms, right? Like SaaS. So
guys, just allow me to have 2 minutes. I'm getting back in 2 minutes only. Just 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, guys. So I was talking about WAF. So WAF is especially designed to protect only web traffic. Wherein firewall, like you can filter other, you can implement other rules as well. Yes, guys. So if you want to know anything else about it, so I can walk you through like a couple of AWS services here quickly. So first of all, this is AWS console, AWS home, we call it. Like wherever you are, you need to go back to home page. So you can go here. Like list of services is available under this particular tab. All the services are provided from AWS side. These are available here. Like this is AWS like new feature. Like this is on a cloud shell. If you want to manage your AWS services and account with the help of AWS CLI, you can access this. This is notification center. These are the reasons. Which AWS region means geographical area where multiple data centers are available. So that is something about AWS, guys. And obviously, like this is your EC2 services, which we are going to begin with tomorrow. So
like one question, like how, like what all things will get covered, and I mean, this can you
yes, for sure. I'm going to tell
how
you.
we are like, I mean, whatever things we did, I mean, you said like for the interview and how things can be prepared for the interview. So
Yes. So that's what I'm going to tell you right away. That was the final thing for today's discussion. So guys, we are going to cover major services. Like obviously, like, I cannot cover all. There is a long list. And also like AR, VR, blockchain, these sort of things we are not going to cover. So first of all, we are going to cover like compute section. So under compute, we are going to cover like EC2. We are going to cover image builder, Elastic Beanstalk. I will give you overview and the implementation like tactics for Lambda. Practicals will not be possible. Reason being because it needs development skill. If you have, then I can help you with, otherwise not. So like EC2 section will be covered here. Then after we will discuss about like container services because these are really high in demand. We will talk about like Kubernetes and we will talk about ECS. ECS and EKS, these are the services which we will talk about. Then after we will talk here about the particular networking. So inside networking, we will talk about here CloudFront. We will talk about here Direct Connect. We will not create because this is not practically possible to create because we need data center to create this sort of things. We will discuss about global escalator on the top of load balancer. We will talk about Route 53, VPC, and Amazon VPC IP address manager. These sort of things we are going to discuss because this is new service and is being used very frequently. We will discuss about it. If we talk about security, so we will talk about here, obviously like certificate manager, we will talk about. We will talk about here like guard duty, IAM, inspector, with this sort of services we will discuss about. Then after network firewall, this is like hardware device and it needs at least $3,000 to provision it. We will not discuss. Only overview I'll tell you. If we talk about the storage section, so obviously we are going to talk about AWS backup, EFS, and Elastic disaster recovery. So this is new service, and obviously we will definitely discuss about it because unless we are able to understand disaster recovery, implementation, setup, so that will be of no use. S3 we are going to discuss Route 53, cloud formation, and obviously like Elastic Beanstalk we are going to discuss. So these sort of services we are going to discuss. And if you want to talk about level, like what sort of level we are going to cover. So we are going to have three sort of things here. First of all, we will cover AWS certified solution architect associate level things. Major services like EC2, S3, VPC, and your Route 53, IAM, these sort of services will be covered up to professional level. And like implementation of all these, all the services, whatever we are going to discuss will be covered under this because this particular course will include SysOps as well. Because all the implementations are covered under SysOps section. So we are going to go for yes. Please go ahead.
So is ECS and EKS will you cover in this course or how
yes,
it is actually?
yes, definitely. Without that, like
and API gateway and Lambda.
No, because for that we need development skills. And if you guys know, I can tell you like how, like what is REST, like what sort of API gateway do we have and all. I can tell you, but end of the day we need complete infrastructure to be running in backend.
Yes, like sometimes like interviewer ask that type of question. You do you know like
Till the
Lambda or
level,
API gateway? So it's
okay.
just basic knowledge if you provide, then
For
we
sure,
can
that much
answer.
I can tell you. But for that, we need development skill. Let us say over there will be requirement to know about REST API or maybe SOAP API. And most of administrators are not aware of it. If you know, I can tell you because see, I have already been working on these sort of tools.
Okay.
Yes.
So in normal Kubernetes, we are writing the code in like a YML file. So here how it is like case in.
So like over here, you need to work on GUI mostly. Like you need to set up your pipelines where you need to write YML.
Okay.
Deployment
GUI
pipeline
based.
only. You need to define. Otherwise, most of things are already automated.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
We will discuss that.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
So this course will be completed like within 1.5 to 2 months. Like by end of Feb or maybe first week of March, this course will be completed. I will definitely ensure to prepare interview preparation along with this particular batch only. The course would be like this, like 3 hours on Saturday and 3 hours on Sunday. Time we can decide maybe from 1 to 4 or like 2 to 5. We can easily decide that. That will be task of hardly like 10 minutes. We can discuss once the guys are registered, right? So once again, we will have the particular first session of this like technical session of this particular class tomorrow related to EC2. We are going to cover. So you all are most welcome tomorrow as well. Tomorrow, this was just a general discussion like for like what we are going to teach, what is cloud computing environment, the basic stuff, basic understanding of like yours and mine, and the particular way, how do we deliver the sessions. And that's all.
So what is the price of this?
So this will cost 12,000 rupees.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So is it negotiable or it's fixed actually?
So it is fixed basically.
Okay, so while practicing, whenever you have any doubt, so how we can
you can either call me or either you can ping in the WhatsApp group. There will be separate group created for this. You can ping in the group. As and when I'm available, I'll reply on that. Or maybe like some of your friends, let us say there are 5 members in the team or in the group who are associated there. So either they can reply or I can. That's not a challenge here.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Class will be on Saturday and Sunday, right?
Yes, classes will be on Saturday and Sunday.
There is no regular classes going on, like on weekdays.
On weekdays, like we have interview preparation batch only.
Okay.
Yes.
The core content of this course is covering what certification level?
So this will not cover any certification level, to be frank, because clearing certificates is altogether different ballgame. Over there, no practical knowledge is required, only theoretical knowledge is required. And especially these are going to be a lot of scenario-based questions, which I have never ever implemented in real world.
So, sir, you mean to say like when you're preparing for the
You have to
certification?
additionally prepare for certificates, to be frank. I will not like put you in dark. I will not keep you in dark. You will have to additionally prepare for the certificate at least 15 days in order to clear the certificate.
So is it more of a theoretical?
100% theoretical and like MCQs, multiple choice question could be there.
You mean both cloud practitioner as well as